All right, hey there, Sam with you. It's Wednesday, February 20th, and we're going to do, I've teased this a little bit on Twitter here, but I've got an account here that has got me rethinking some things here. So we're going to go through that in a second. Now, before I do that, I've got to remind you here because we've just started this, and if you follow us on Twitter, you'll see a lot of information on this. In fact, if you want more details, it's a pinned tweet on our Twitter feeds right at the top. But just to clarify, because I had suggested that all you had to do was tweet and retweet. You do have to enter this giveaway. So just as a reminder, this is some software that we can use, so it will keep track of this for us. So you do need to register for the contest. So if you're interested in this, right? So again, $700 of membership value. First prize 2 free months. Second prize 1 month. Third 2 weeks. So you have to log in and create your account. Then it will identify you, and therefore, if you were on Twitter and you liked something, shared it, retweeted, and again, we want you to, if you're going to retweet it, we want you to do it because you think it would have value to your followers or people that that you're in communication with. We don't want you to do it just to try and win. So at least that's the spirit of it. So if you like the content, then if you do retweet it, every time you do that, that creates another entry for you. So that's the way it works. So you must create the account, then tweets, retweets, likes, shares. Then every time you get an entry, that just increases the probability of you winning as it's a random drawing. Okay. With all that said, let's get back over to Bitcoin. Oh, by the way, that link to register is both on our Twitter feed, and it will be underneath this video in the description. All right, let's get to this. Now, as I had suggested in the very short little update I did on Twitter, the idea of this triangle down here has been so ingrained in so much of, at least certainly ingrained in my thinking. As we look here at this price action, it looks so typical of a triangle. And so what I was implying over on the little brief bit I did is that you can get to yourself, so you're so locked into that thinking that you can't see beyond it. So I do always try and encourage Elliott traders and any Trade Devil students or people that are following here on YouTube. It's always a good idea to have alternates, because your first assumption should always be that you're wrong. Now that sounds a little bit odd, to make the assumption that you're wrong, right? Why would you trade with any conviction if your first assumption is always that you're wrong? Well, to some degree, it's tied to the fact that you are going to be wrong more than you're right. I can promise you that we can say statistically, the odds are that regardless of what methodology you're using, it's just the nature of the markets. The odds are you're going to be wrong more than you're right. So fortunately, the good news is that with disciplined money management, you can still be very, very profitable being wrong more than you're right. Right now, that the emphasis there on disciplined money management. Now, this is not going to be about money management here. We're going to do the analysis here, but I just want to emphasize that point is you have to assume you're wrong the majority of the time. So that leads to just the intuitive thinking, well, if I'm wrong, what else could be going on? What's the alternate? Now, I'm not saying that you can't lean into a primary count, or this is what I believe is most likely. In fact, that's what I'm encouraging. But you always want to have in the back of your mind, what if I'm wrong? So what are the tells that could influence your thinking to move you more towards an alternate or a new way of looking at it? Well, with the count here that we've been working through, and we've implied over the last, we've been going sideways for quite a while. The implication has always been that this was most likely, and there were a number of ways to count it, most likely a 4 as this price action, this sideways price action, so consistent with a 4 and so typical of a 4 that it was implying one more move down. You can certainly create a count where that would make sense. Well, so a few things start to break down here, and you have to look at this and say, well, wait a minute, what if I am wrong? What is that going to do to my count? Is there another way to look at this? Well, let's just dig in here for just a second here before we get to this. Well, the first thing in the count was that from this dominant pivot here, now I'm over here on Coinbase Pro. So from this swing to the low here, part of what was influencing the thinking was that, and I think the last video I did was on Monday. On Monday, we had dropped right into the golden zone. Had we now started to move lower, then I would have been more, I'd have had more conviction in the idea that that this was still likely a triangle, this was still likely the fourth, and there was a push down for the fifth. Well, little things happen along the way that make you rethink that. Well, first is, obviously, we broke the golden zone. So now you got to look at that and say, okay, well, is there something else going on in this particular little swing? So we can look here and say, okay, well, here's a couple of ticks in front of the 50. They just blew right through first target. They got to second target. All right, so is that an algo, just realizing that return here? So the bullish algo is taking profit at the second target at the -618 and stopping out the algo that would have been here defending at the golden zone? Well, you got to look at that and say, well, now have I eliminated the possibility of the triangle? Well, definitely not. The break of the golden zone does not eliminate it does not affect the Elliott count per se, but it's just one more tell. It's one more reason to say, wait a minute, maybe I need to rethink this. So you look at it and say, well, what if it keeps going higher? Can it still be a 4? Well, sure, it can still be a 4. There's plenty here. We could just have a big fat channel, and the four could come in here. This could go right to the median line. We'd have an A, B, C, depending on what this looks like, and you're all teed up for one more push down here. That would be implying much lower prices, right? Certainly down to challenge. Well, at the very least, let's say we'd be challenging that low, and the potential would be there for that move down to 2200, which is a long-term algo target. Okay, so the first part of that premise is that the golden zone was going to hold here. Now we've broken it. So while we can't eliminate the possibility of the triangle, you got to rethink this and say, well, what else could be going on? Well, one of the things that I'm constantly reminding myself, and at the same time, well, I should say I'm reminding you, but at the same time reminding myself, is can I simplify this? Simple, almost always better. Almost always. Can I simplify this? Well, if there's a real possibility that the low could be in here, well, the very simplest explanation of what's happening here, because this move here has always been open to interpretation. Could count it as an ABC, could count it as a 1, could count it as an A. The very simplest thing is that we've just put in a 1 here, and then we've just done a 3-wave ABC. Why not? What's wrong with that? The answer is nothing's wrong with that. On the assumption that we can finish down here, that we could finish the entire correction down here at 3,200, which, by the way, was a very long-term algo target, which had tagged damn near to the tick. Why not the low here? Well, again, as I alluded to on Twitter, this is going to need to start looking more like, at the very least, a motive wave. Right now, it looks like an absolutely textbook ABC. I mean, damn near you couldn't Photoshop it any better. So if I look here and say, okay, if that's the A and I'm going to use the lowest B, well, here's the 100, 1272. That's the high probability zone for a C relative to the A. That's right where we're sitting. So you can't eliminate the idea that we're just teed up here and we're going down. But you got to also allow for the possibility. Well, what if we do this, and I get a good impulse or just a motive? We could overlap here. Fine, give me a motive wave, something that I can lean into. I know I've got a contender here. So this swing here. Well, here's 100% of the first swing. So this could be a 3. I could go 1, 2, 3, 4. I could overlap here because the breakdown here, and I'm on a 4-hour. You don't have an ultra clear impulsive structure here. But even if we just go sideways here, and we stay in this again looks more like a 4, just like this on the larger degree looks like a 4. If this is going to just stay and go sideways, but we kick higher. Well, I've got a contender here for a motive. We don't know what this is going to look like. It's too soon, right, to really, really go there. But I caught myself earlier in the week saying, what's most probable? What's most likely? How can we get out of this without one more push down? Right? Well, when you For me, if I hear myself saying that, I say, well, God damn it, man, I gotta rethink that, because there is a way to finish down here. So this bias, right? This is funny because I'm one of the biggest Bitcoin bulls, amongst educators. I'm one of the most bullish long term. So I've struggled through the entire correction, just like so many of us have, with where could the low be? Could it be in? And you find yourself being resolved to the idea that there's got to be one more push down. Well, if you step back and you break this down and you look at it with fresh eyes, as though you'd never seen it before, there is a count here that can have us finishing. Now, let's put it in context. Okay, so here we'd be doing it this way. ABC into a W. Here's the X. Now we go ABC into a Y. Another X, meaning that we have to finish with an ABC. Okay, so why not ABC? Symmetry's fine. What's wrong with it? Why not? That's what you got to keep asking yourself. Well, okay, so the next question is, what does the subdivision look like? Well, the A relative to the B, we go damn near to the tick to the 1618. Right there. So that was that thinking that, well, oh, this is 1, 2, 3 is in 4. Well, but that wouldn't work if this is correctly identified as the X, because then we'd be putting in an impulse. If this were 1, 2, 3, 4 going in 5, well, that would imply Bitcoin's damn near going to 0, which I don't think is probable. Okay, well, so what's the alternate? Well, an A to a B to a 1618. Now that's, plus it's damn near to the tick. That's certainly within the realm of not only possibility but probability. That's not uncommon for an extended C wave to go to the 1618, the length of the A. It's not uncommon at all. Right. Now, more common would be the 100, 1272, but we certainly see plenty of examples where we go to the 1618. Okay, fine. So if we're going to get to the 1618, could this ABC be finished here? Well, absolutely it can. And this is partly influenced by counts that I was looking at like 2 months ago. Right? When did we put in this low? December? Well, damn near 2 months. Okay, so how do we get there? Well, if this is an A and a B, I no problem getting an AB here. Right? You can see the A, B, C into the B here. Well, it gets a little dicey here. You got to go into a double bottom into a 1 here. Right, so this has to be the 1. Now we and again I've shown this count over the last couple of months several times. Now we'd have to have an expanded flat here. So it's a little, yeah, I know guys, I know it's a little dicey because you've just got a pump wick there, but the structure supports it. And by the way, it's technical. Right to the 50. Now we blow all the way through all of that. So you have to be looking at a larger degree. But if you use this as the 1, we go right between the 50 and the 618. Well, that's certainly where you're looking for the 2. And then we go 1, 2 again. Well, I can get a full impulse down here to a 3. No problem, right? So interestingly, here's the 1618, the negative 1618, nailing that 3. Technical pivot. So not that 3 is relative to this 1, 2, because I've got a 1, 2 here to give me that 3, 4. So here's the big 3. Pull that off. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can finish down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's a little ugly. I have often referenced this as, it's ugly, but you can dig it out of there. You got to allow for a very small 5, but at some degree they all break down. You just can only dig down so far. You can get a diagonal in that. You can get it to finish. It's ugly. You feel maybe it's a force fit, but certainly this just the general structure of this looks so clearly like a 5. So I'm kind of catching myself because I kept thinking ABC. It looks ABC. So maybe this was A, B into a C expanded flat. You're thinking outside of the box. Well, wait a minute. What's the simplest possible explanation? What would a 5-year-old see if he looked here? Can I make out 5 clear waves that come down here that finish this thing? Is it technical? Well, let's back up. Is it technical? Okay, so in addition to the pivots down here, there's a few other things that are worth noting. So we looked at the length of the A projected from the B. Well, don't forget range expansion. So if I take the length of the A, all right, I'm going to just change my template. I'm going to go to what I call the Wolf template, which is just range expansion. Okay, let me get these dialed right in. So I'm taking the length of the A. So here's 50, here's 100, here's negative 150. Look what we're doing down here. That's almost to the tick perfect expansion. That's a doubling, an exact doubling of the range of the A projected down. Yeah, it's not to the tick, but look here, very, very close. I mean, it's really worth looking at here. So if I tighten that up, if I get these right on the pivots, it's damn near we just tagged it. Yeah, we went through here. Yeah, I see it. We went through here. But look how closely we've hung to that level. What's that level? 33. Now, you'll recall here, as I've shown this God knows how many times. In addition, we had the longer term. Well, let's see. I got to change the template. I've shown this many times. All right, so here, if this is the C wave here, here's the perfect 50. Now look at this cluster down here. Now they're both caught. Now we catch both of them. Why can't this be the bottom? And that's me saying that to myself. As I prepped for this video to say, wait a minute, where's the alternate? Why can't this be done down here? I'm the one saying it can't be done down here. Wait a minute, why can't it? It's easy to be influenced by media. Oh, it's half of the Twitter sphere says, oh, we're off to the races, low is in. The other half said, though, there's got to be another run down. We got to finish with one more drive down to get capitulation, everybody out. That seems to be the general consensus, is this hasn't been severe enough, not blood in the streets. We're not breaking the spirit of the cryptosphere. Not enough yet. Well, if you're long from 20 grand, you've had plenty. We see it, right? We just see it in our own traffic in terms of people's interest in crypto. There's been plenty of psychological damage here. So it's there. I can finish the whole damn thing down here, right? So I'm correcting myself. This can be done down here. A, B, C, 1, 2. Give me an impulse here. Give me a motive wave. Give me a clear 5 here, and I'm going to come back and say the low is in. If. It's not a stretch. The only place that's a stretch is this last 5. But the dominant structure is so clearly a 5. Is this over-analysis, the paralysis of analysis? I can get 5 there. Okay, so wait a minute. Well, then what does that do to us here? Well, we've been looking at this because this can be interpreted multiple ways. When I first drew this up, when this first happened, I was fairly certain we had an impulse. Well, then you're backfilling into it and thinking, maybe not, I don't know. We had W, X, Y, X, Y, Z here. It's overcomplicating, but you don't have enough data. Now that we have enough to look at that low, can this be 1 ABC? Then you come back, why not? Why can't it be? Well, it can. I can certainly get an impulse here. I've come to the 786 to the tick, and I'm literally tagging 2 long-term algo targets. Why not a 1-2? Well, right, so this will be the tell. Can I get a nice motive wave here? I still have to keep the possibility alive that I've got a 4 here. So this could be A, B, C. Can't eliminate that, right? That would be just very typical, A, B, C. So we get this wrong. There's just, this is kind of the blessing and the curse of Elliott. There's multiple ways this can be interpreted. So sooner or later, you got to pick one. It's ultimately about probabilities. Why not? Well, let's look here. So if this is an impulsive 1 and all of this is just an ABC, well, we can certainly put some geometry around this. Right? This is deep, but it's not out of bounds for a 2 to go to the 786, considering what we've been through. I got to have an impulse. Well, I got to have a motive here. If I can get a motive here, well, then how are you going to know? Well, you're not going to know until you see what happens at the retrace. What happens when we, if we get this, what happens here? Because if we come down here and we get this, something like that, and then start to go, well, then we don't have to wonder when we know the low's in. Well, no may be the wrong word. Odds are that we've got a good low down here. Now, there's just a little bit more here just to sweeten it. What else is down here? If you've got confusion about the Elliott count, or you're looking at it going, well, God damn it, you can count this 5 different ways. Okay, well, what else can we lean into? What can only be interpreted one way? Well, if I'm going to put this on here, so there's my median lines. Okay, great. You're looking here. Okay, great. What the hell is that doing for me? Well, of course, we've gone beyond it, but we got to check the alternates. So I'm going to go to shift. Is that doing anything for me? It's not great. How about modified shift? Essentially just a channel. Not bad. Maybe I need to back up one. So now I'm going to pull this and look, say, okay, what else can I look at? Maybe I go back a pivot. Let's go to the B, to the C, to the X. I'm literally tagging it to the tick. To the tick. Yeah, now sure, we broke down here, but the lower parallel held it. We came back to the median line. Now I've come back, I've just tagged the median line exactly where I hit that algo target. Exactly. Now, so we can see potentially, so if this tag here, if you can see that, this just perfect tag as we hit, I can really make that narrow, that perfect tag as we hit the median line and the algo target right here, 33.21. Is that my number? 33.06, or at least here on Coinbase Pro. Well, if this is going to start to go, if we're going to start to get a push here, let me get this out of here. If this is going to start to go, well, here's a very reasonable target. Here's second algo target. Well, this will, of course, come into play. If this, so which would be tied here. So if we're going to get this push here, well, here's the, from the swing to the 1 to the 2 to the 786. Well, I'm not gonna take that algo target off. 3, 3, 3. But I'm not going to use it in isolation here because now I've got an algo here that's playing. Well, let me zoom in here. So if that's 1, 2. Again, this is all contingent on the idea that this continues to go higher. So listen, 2 days, I could be back here saying, well, it didn't happen, right? We end up with an ABC, we start heading lower, and well, this will start to get invalidated. We invalidate right here. If we take out this low, we invalidate, because then I can't have a 1, 2, 3. I can't take out the 2. So that's the only choice left. And this, right now, still, it's just an absolute textbook channel. You can't make it any tighter than that. This needs a rally. It can retrace. I can't take out this low. So you could look at it this way and say, well, this is the range here that's going to define what's next for Bitcoin, in my view. Right? This range here. Do we hold the 1? All right. Do we have an impulse? Do we hold the 2, or now have we just done an ABC? Because right now, that's all it looks like. I mean, it's abnormally, it's just pump sideways, pump sideways. Now, if that stays consistent, and we're going to just go sideways here, and then we're going to pump out of this motive wave. Maybe the simplest thing, which is often the case, is the most obvious thing. 1, 2. 1, 2. Why not? I can't. I've got a team of certified Elliottians, some of the best Elliott traders and technicians. I run it by them and say, tell me what's wrong with this. Why can't we finish down here? We've all been so tied into the idea that we had to have one more push down. Now, is it a little hopium? Could be. Could be. How are we going to know? Well, we're going to know fairly quickly here. Well, shit, this could go sideways for 2 weeks. But there's going to be a break out of this consolidation. If it breaks higher, I get more bullish. If we roll over, Maybe this has to be this is just hopium and we got to rethink the whole thing again. Right? Who said this was going to be easy? Nobody. Certainly not me. This is not easy. But we have some things to lean into here. Stay optimistic. Right? But stay disciplined with your money management. I am not telling anyone to buy here aggressively. I'm saying the potential is there for this to reorient the entire account. The low could be in. That low that we were looking at a year ago, because that's where that 50 was put in 1 year ago. Here's that long-term algo target. Here's 100% range expansion. Here's the median line. We literally tag the median line before going up. Give me one more push here. I'm going to get very, very bullish on this. All right, let's call it food for thought, right? It's an alternate. You got to have multiple alternates, but this is one that certainly could play. All right, guys. Look for that link below this video if you want to enter that contest. And be interesting to see what the update looks like on Friday. All right, until then, talk to you later.